Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Just a brief note that this meeting is being recorded, so it will be available through the Canal Place website following tonight's conversation. My name is Julie McCoy, and I'm honored to welcome you on behalf of the Allegany County Chamber of Commerce. Tonight's meeting is a great opportunity for us to come together as business leaders, community members, and public servants to talk about the River Park at Canal Place, a truly transformational vision for Cumberland, Allegany County, and the region. As your chamber, our mission has always centered on economic growth and creating real return on investment for businesses in Allegany County. This River Park project aligns perfectly with that mission. Feasibility studies show 1 million new visitors, nearly doubling current visitation. That influx of people means more customers for local shops, more traffic for our restaurants, and new opportunities for entrepreneurs and business owners. Beyond that, the economic modeling shows a projected $41.7 million in state and local tax revenue. We want our community to understand that the vision for this goes beyond a tourism project and targets an investment in our quality of life, our downtown sense of place, and in the long-term growth of our economy. By improving access to the river, building trails, whitewater features, and green space, we're making a more attractive place where people can visit, live, work, and invest. This project has already seen strong financial backing with more than $8 million in grant funding secured. Our federal partners have shown up with $6 million in direct funding earmarked for trails and connections. This is a moment for all of us to lean in and recognize that multiple things can be true at once. This park is a public amenity and an engine for economic growth, job creation, and downtown revitalization. I encourage those with vision and an entrepreneurial heart to remain focused on the progress and consider how you might be part of the future. The Chamber is positioned to help businesses at any level find ways to succeed and to make important connections for sustainability. At this point, I'd like to welcome our elected officials who are with us this evening. Mayor Ray Morris and Councilman Eugene Frazier, City of Cumberland. Delegate Jim Heinbaugh. Delegate Gary Howe. Commissioner Bill Atkinson. On the federal side, Robin Summerfield, Senator Van Hollen. And Delaney Bluebaugh, representing Congresswoman Also Brooks. And Mary Beth Peralazzi, Register of Wills, Allegany County. Did I miss any elected officials that spoke in? All right. With that, I'm pleased to introduce Ashley Workman, Director of Tourism, who will provide the most recent data that supports this vision and outlines benefits to our community. Thank you. Ashley.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, my name is Ashley Workman. I'm the Director of Tourism for Allegany County, the Mountain State of Maryland. I'm also a board member for Canal Place Preservation and Development Authority. And my role here tonight is to really outline how strengthening our outdoor recreation assets, specifically the River Park at Canal Place, can create measurable economic, social, and community development benefits for Allegany County. So, if you can see this slide, outdoor recreation is not a niche activity. It is a major U.S. economic engine. Nationally, contributes $374 billion to the GDP, which makes it 3 times larger than oil and gas extraction, and one of the fastest growing sectors in the country. Regions that invest in outdoor assets consistently see small business growth, better business attraction, better talent attraction, and overall higher quality of life metrics. When we say outdoor recreation represents 2.3% of the U.S. economy, about $1.2 trillion, here's what it really means. It's bigger than agriculture, bigger than utilities and mining, and absolutely a standalone powerhouse sector. And this national trend is exactly what we see here happening in Mountain, Maryland. Our outdoor assets are already one of the biggest drivers for destination awareness. And in Maryland, outdoor recreation adds $9.4 billion to the Maryland economy and supports 81,000 jobs. The bottom line is simple. Outdoor recreation isn't nice to have. It's a proven economic engine. Communities that invest in trails, access to waterways, access to public lands, outdoor amenities like Allegany County is doing, are aligning themselves with a multi-trillion-dollar national growth sector. So Allegany County wins. How's it win? Well, we are already built to win in outdoor recreation. We have nationally and internationally recognized assets that most destinations would quite frankly dream of. And I would like to say probably most of us in this room take quite often for granted. The Great Allegany Passage and the Sino Canal towpath are world-class, consistently ranked among the top long-distance trails in the country, if not internationally. The Gap Trail, while a mature trail system, is consistently cited in case studies all over the country for communities trying to replicate what is happening here in Cumberland, Maryland. And the Sino Canal is a national historical park right in our backyard, which I think most people just tend to forget. Once you layer in the Potomac River and our heritage icons like the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad and more than 70,000 acres of public land, it is clear why we are already seeing strong year-round visitation. And this is where the River Park comes into play. It does not replace these assets. It connects them. It amplifies them. It turns individual strengths into one unified, high-value experience that, quite frankly, I believe only Allegany County will be able to offer. This slide really builds onto the fact that Allegany County isn't trying to become an outdoor recreation destination. We are one. In fact, outdoor recreation is our strongest competitive advantage in Western Maryland. And you can see that clearly through these numbers. What I also think is super important about our outdoor economy and for this project is that outdoor recreation does not know municipality or county lines. It's regional in nature. The Gap Trail, for example, connects us directly to Pittsburgh. The Sino Canal directs us to DC. This project, the River Park, will benefit not only Western Maryland, but West Virginia as well. And together with the River Park at Canal Place, I really believe that this project is going to position our region at the heart of one of the strongest outdoor recreation corridors in the Mid-Atlantic. So how does the River Park strengthen our local economy? First, it expands multi-use outdoor recreation experiences. The River Park, which you're going to learn here in a few minutes, is going to add water-based recreation access, stronger trail connections, better walkability, land-based amenities that support water recreation and family use. But it also creates opportunities for new direct job creation. Think outfitters, guides, event services, as well as many indirect job benefits that we know those who work in the outdoor recreation industry are contributing to this economy. Second, it enhances our role as a regional recreational hub. Cumberland already sits at the midpoint of two internationally recognized trail systems. The River Park becomes the connector, the place where the Gap, the Canal, the Potomac River, our newly revitalized downtown, and our public lands all meet. And that clustering effect strengthens our downtowns. It increases foot traffic in our small businesses, and more importantly, it attracts new private investment. Together, these strengths are why we call the River Park a once-in-a-generational economic opportunity. So this is where the real impact comes into focus. According to the WVU Economic Impact Study, which was recently completed in 2024, the River Park project is projected to generate over 1 million new annual visits with a 70% probability. That's incredible. And more importantly, the spending tied to those visits is new economic activity. The River Park is projected to generate additional 2,900 jobs, generate close to $42 million in state and local tax revenues. But I think what we really find that it needs to be driven home tonight is that this is not just a tourism project. And I know that's probably odd as the director of tourism standing up here before you, but I'm first and foremost a community member. This project is most certainly a vitality project for our community. Projects like this improve the quality of life for our residents. This is our river. This is our river park. And it is what will strengthen our community. And this project, I truly believe, is a community catalyst. It'll become a gathering place, a health and wellness amenity, a family-friendly recreation hub, a beautification environmental investment, and a new point of pride for Cumberland, Maryland, Allegany County, Western Maryland, and West Virginia. There is a clear, next slide. There is a very clear national track record and local track record, if you will, that outdoor recreation projects drive economic growth. These are just a couple examples. There are many examples. Clear Creek Whitewater Park in Golden, Colorado. Dayton, Ohio's River Park project. The Nanahala River in Bryson City, which I had the pleasure of going to last year. It's incredible. You go to this river with a trail, the Appalachian Trail, and a train right behind it, and it's like, we have that right here. Even in larger cities, think Pittsburgh with the Three Rivers Park. These projects are different in sizes, but they all have the same outcome. They're reconnecting communities to the riverfront, which strengthens downtowns, attracts investment, and raises the quality of life. But we actually don't even need to really look nationally at how outdoor recreation moves the needles in communities. We have one of the strongest proven examples right here in our backyard with the Great Allegheny Passage. According to the 2021 GAP Economic Impact Study, which I do serve on the board for the GAP Conservancy, I was a part of the study. The GAP Trail generates $121 million annual economic impact and supports nearly 1,400 jobs. But the most powerful metric of that study to me was that the GAP produces over $800,000 of economic impact per mile per year. And we have 21 miles in Allegany County. And to add on to that, our office recently completed a strategic plan. And we asked our downtown businesses in Frostburg and Cumberland, two trail towns, if the trail went down, if the train went down, if tourism went down, how long would it take for you to close your business? 48% said in 30 days they would be closed. So when we talk about the river park driving visitation, spending, business creation, and new investments, it's not speculative. It follows the same pattern we've already seen nationally and right here in Mountain, Maryland. Invest in outdoor recreation, attract visitors and residents, strengthen local businesses and your downtown to unlock private investment. The model works everywhere. It's been done. And Cumberland is positioned to be the next success story. At the end of the day, this project matters because it positions our region to compete to win. Outdoor recreation demand is surging. Travelers are choosing drive market destinations like ours, and communities seeing the biggest returns are the ones investing in authentic, connected outdoor experiences. The River Park at Canal Place strengthens what we already do well, ties together assets that we already have, and builds on decades of local investment. It accelerates business growth, attracts new visitors and new residents, and improves the quality of life for the people who call this place home. This is not duplication, it is momentum, and it prepares Allegany County for the growth that's already coming. The next slide. This project isn't about changing who we are, it is about unlocking what we are capable of. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Is that on? No?
Yeah.
It is on?
No.
Now it's on. Now it's on, right? Nope. Yep. I probably don't need it anyway. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dee Dee Ritchie, and I'm the Executive Director of the Canal Place Preservation and Development Authority. Thank you all for coming first and foremost. And before I get started on my part of the evening, I want to recognize the board members of the Canal Place Authority. First, Stuart Zapsky. Raise your hand there, Stuart. Brad Nixon. Mayor Ray Morris. Laura Freeman-Legg. Michael Mudge. And Ashley already introduced herself, but Ashley Workman. Ed Wenchoff from National Park Service. And Colleen Peterson, our newest member, board chair. I stood up here in front of most of you in March of 2024 and talking about the river park and how great it was going to be. And tonight I want to stand up here and tell you the progress that we made as of last year. When I was here in 2024, we had the feasibility study and conceptual plan had been completed. We had a 30% preliminary engineer report completed. The economic impact study, which you've heard about tonight. We hired a project management firm to help oversee the river park. We installed water loggers in the north branch of the Potomac River and Wells Creek. We've secured over $9 million in funding, and we continue to work on the conceptual plan. Today, where we are today, we've made a lot of progress. We're in the process of doing the engineering and design for the ADA trails and parking lot that are part of the River Park project. We advertised a request for proposal for sediment testing of the river park above and below the Cumberland Industrial Dam. We have secured $300,000 towards the sediment testing, and we're waiting to hear from ARC on another $700,000. And once we confirm that we've received that funding, we will go ahead and begin the sediment testing part of the project. We've also created an online store to help fund part of this project. And if you get on our Passages of the Western Potomac.org website, you'll see some of the great merchandise that we have to sell. Next, I want to just say what we're going to be doing after this phase of the project is completed. We're going to continue to secure funding for the project. We're going to continue to advocate for the project, and we hope that you will help us We will seek funding and advertise for the removal of the Cumberland Industrial Dam, which will also include the installation of whitewater features. We will be installing canoe kayak access and spectator seating and pull-off areas along the riverbank. We will also be installing wayfinding and interpretive signage. So, since we're in the process of doing the engineering and design, we've invited our engineer, Andy Arnold from GD&F, and he's going to show you the layout of the ADA trails that we're working on right now. So, Andy.
Good evening, everyone.
You did.
Good. Thanks. As Dee mentioned, my name's Andy Arnold. I'm with Gwynn Dobson, Foreman Engineers. We were brought on April, May 2025 for the land-based amenities, and what that means is the trail. That is the first construction phase of a multi-phase project. So this is just a continuation of the work that has been done as part of the conceptual planning. If you followed the course of the project throughout this, this is, like I mentioned, this is the first phase of construction we anticipate, first of several. And as Dee Dee mentioned, ADA, pedestrian, multimodal, shared use trail design. This also incorporates, eventually, someone carrying a kayak and walking up with that kayak on top of their head from the river. A little bit of what we've done so far: site survey, geotechnical investigations, and preliminary design. There is no shortage of environmental permitting that goes along with these projects. The levees and the river are both complex environmental submissions. We'll be proceeding with those throughout the coming months. And we have no shortage of stakeholders as well. That is a long list on there. And so there is a high level of coordination on this project moving forward. What we have done, 30% submission. That was done in September. We received comments from the agencies on the screen. That's a lot. We have another 60% submission upcoming. There's also an Army Corps submission made in November. We will continue through these submissions with the various entities as we proceed with the project. So, what is the design? Like I mentioned, 30% in August, 60% upcoming. We continue toward this in another submission in December. So, this is the same image you've seen throughout the course of the conceptual stages. That was the basis for our 30% submission. And we realized fairly quickly we have a project, the trail portion of the project is over our target budget. And there are certain portions that really don't make sense to construct ahead of the actual river park itself. And that is the trail that goes along closest to the riverbank. So we supplemented, augmented, revised to get that scope down to where we want it to be. And that's what I'm going to present tonight. So it's hard to represent 6,600 linear feet of shared use trail on a plan. But that's the representation. I'll touch base on a few of the major components as we go. There are connections to the towpath at Bridge Street, South Johnson Street, and Kelly Road. There's also parking anticipated as part of the project underneath I-68 next to the George Washington House. Yes?
Can you move your podium to maybe this side and so all of us can see the screen?
Don't.
We're videoing and it's.
I know, but I'm here tonight and I can't see them.
Sorry.
Over here.
Yeah, sit over
Where you're standing now is good.
Better? Good. I'll do my best over here. Sorry for that. So a little bit of the pieces that go next slide, please. First trail trestle loop. So that is about 3,100 feet. Connects with the towpath south of the bend in the river, and ties back in with the next segment adjacent to the viewing platform located near Canal Place, and I will touch on that in a second. The image, if you can see it, the image there is that viewing platform, and that trail would run along at the lower edge of the levee in the flat portion next to the river, and eventually connect to an ADA ramp at that overlook. I think this is going to be a real highlight of the area, and what this does is it connects that upper area with the trail below at the river. This is not an easy task. That is a very steep slope. If anybody's ever climbed up it, specifically with a bicycle, it is not fun. So this would be a switchback trail similar to the C&O Bridge located adjacent that crosses the railroad. Similar type construction. again, at that overlook. Am I losing track? So the second segment crosses the railroad, connects to the landing at the railroad platform, which is in the next photo, please. So we connect these 2 points. This now connects the bridge that crosses the river. So we have provided that connection from one side to the other. That'll eventually cross Johnson Street. The upper levee trail, this is the continuation, crossing, now we are on top of the levee. And we're starting to make that circle around. The photo on the left there is the anticipated parking area. In future developments with the river park, that will be the access point to a seating area, potentially, right at the bend of the river. That's going to be a key point for viewing the kayakers and viewing the whitewater folks coming through. Next please. So we continue around. Now we've covered a lot of territory here. That is turning the bend, getting around towards South Johnson Street. We anticipate a switch back there. That is a little more simple. The trail itself is on top of the levee and then winds its way down to Johnson Street. So that is more of a bicycle connection between two sides of the river. Next, please. The next segment, 1,500 feet, we're calling the YMCA Connector Trail. Again, this runs on top of the levee and eventually gets to Kelly Road. So there's a bicycle lane on Kelly Road. This connects that. So we have now connected one side of the river over to the other with bicycle ADA multimodal compliance. Next, please. So where do we go from here? Like I mentioned, we completed that 30% submission. We're looking towards 60%. There are a number of permit submissions that go along with that. We get those approvals, we're into final design. Final design, we are going into contract documentation and construction. A lot of that hinges on how those design reviews go. A lot of reviewing agencies, a lot of bureaucracy. That's the nature of these projects. A quick word on sustainability and maintenance. No small ask on the maintenance side. We'll be dealing with that for the next year as far as the entities go. We'll be taking care of that. Regarding sustainability specifically, the greatest thing I can do for sustainability is to design a trail that's going to last. So what we are looking at is a great linear feet of this trail is potentially underwater at certain points in its life. It is below the 100-year floodplain. We do that with, we maintain a resistance to buoyancy, concrete slabs, relatively thick, soil anchors, a railing that runs along the river to basically, it serves multiple purposes. It keeps bicyclists in their lane, and it keeps trees during those high water events and debris away from that area. It's designed to resist those. Those are the key sustainability factors in having something that's going to last. And with that, that is where we are at in design. We'll be proceeding forward down that path, so to speak, for the coming months. And I think that's my time. That is. So with that, I will turn it over to Bobby Smith with the city to discuss a few other projects that are coming in the pipeline. Thank you.
I wish I'd have printed my slides out a little bigger. I got old all of a sudden, so, but I'll do my best here. So yeah, my part of this project is everything outside of what Dee Dee and Ashley and Andy are talking about. We're going to talk about the other projects and why they're important for what is going to happen in this little area of our community. All right, so we are under a long-term control plan, a consent order from MDE to address combined sewer overflows. I blame John DeFonso for all of these, because he was here when they put them in. So, a long time ago, it was determined that the best way to deal with the storm was to dump it in your sanitary and just treat it. But that quickly was frowned upon in the 90s, and I'm going to blame Brad for that. But, so we're on our long-term control plan. We are planning to remove the storm component from our sanitary system. And throughout our system, we have combined sewer overflow points. So when our system becomes overwhelmed, we discharge into the Potomac. This is diluted sewage. We are not dumping raw sewage. Doesn't mean it's great, but that is what was allowed from the 1930s up to through the 80s. So we've executed a ton of projects, but our flagship project is our 78-inch pipeline. That pipeline is about 14,000 linear feet that will go from the mill race screening facility. For you all who don't know what that is where the canal is currently rewatered, the turning basin. You'll see two facilities. One's a flood pump station, the other building is a screening facility. So from that screening facility, we have one stick of the 78-inch pipe sticking out of the building. We're going to connect onto that and run down to our wastewater treatment facility where we recently constructed that 5 million gallon storage tank. We're going to capture 3 overflow points. From the work that we did with our storage tank and with this pipeline, we plan to address 85% of our overflow. Since we've installed this tank, before we installed that tank, we averaged about 30 to 40 discharges at our wastewater plant a year. Since we installed that tank, we average about 1 to 2. And I'm not counting the May flood. That doesn't count. Those type of events. But we're talking about our 1-inch, 1.5-inch storms. We want to be able to capture, treat, clean, and send it back out into the Potomac as clean water. So we reduce that potential. That includes a CSO that is inside of DD's project. I'm going to come over here. I know I'm outside the camera, but whatever. So right around here, there's an overflow point. The 78-inch pipeline is going to hydraulically be able to convey 75 million gallons of sewage a day. That doesn't mean we can actually send it. It just means hydraulically we can handle it. And I'm going to get into why that's important later. But within the pipe itself, we have 3 additional million gallons of storage hydraulically. That's 8 million gallons that we are capturing before it gets discharged. And then when we're having these big storms, we ramp up our treatment at the facility. We're permitted, we're designed to 15 million gallons a day. We can go up to 25 million gallons a day, no problem. We can go 30 million gallons for probably 4 hours before we got to back it off to 28. That's important because we are treating the sewage. We aren't just willy-nilly discharging sewage into the Potomac. And they have these points all throughout Maryland, all right? In Allegany County, several of us are under consent orders. So there is sewage getting into this, but it is highly diluted. Let's not forget that fact. We are not just, it's not the evil cartoon where you see the evil corporation dumping whatever they want in toxic waste into the river. So, I'm going to go to the next slide, please. So, at those existing outfall points, we're going to be building junction structures, which is a fancy way of calling it a manhole. But it's a very big manhole, and we're going to have a weir. It's got a little V-notch in it, usually, or a rectangle, where we'll be able to measure what overflows. Before it can get there, you're going to see here's the pipe coming in, that 78-inch pipe. Once it gets overwhelmed, then it's going to discharge out into the Potomac. But with that 78-inch pipe and the 5 million gallon storage tank, and us ramping up our production, which is or how much we are treating through our facility, we're going to reduce the amount of overflows, keeping the river as clean as we can. And we're going to have one at Old Town, one at Elizabeth Street, and Mill Race. And we're doing a ton of work at our wastewater treatment facility to help all of these things work collectively to keep the Potomac clean. Next slide, please. So, I guess it was in the late 2000s. Robin might have to help me on this. But 78-inch pipeline and the canal rewatering project federally became the same project. In the 1950s, the C&O Canal was removed from the mill race facility down to the waste weir. And in place, a flood control levee got installed. That has since been determined not to be required to protect the city from flood events. Now, it's still there today, and we have to do a lot of work if we want to remove it. But in the early 2000s, the canal rewatering project was envisioned to be a tourist destination and to re-operate the canal as a tourist attraction. Now, there's a really pretty picture after this. But so in the 1850s, the canal finally reached Cumberland, and it continued operation until about 1920, and then it went out of business, and then it was destroyed with the flood control project. So in 2003, we installed the turning basin, which included a quarter mile. So what we want to do under this project is rebuild 1 1/4 miles. Next slide. So you can see what it kind of looks like right now. Originally, the towpath was about 15 to 20 feet below that. It got built up to protect in case when the waters get high, it wouldn't come into the city and cause flooding. You get the next slide, please. So this is what was envisioned in the early 90s. And what we're proposing isn't necessarily going to look like this. But the idea is the same, to rewater the canal. But we wouldn't have the Potomac naturally flowing into it. Right now you have a pump that pumps the Potomac River into the canal. And during that, under our project, we've reconstructed, move a 48-inch sanitary sewer, which is one of the most important sewers that we have in the city. And it takes about 70% of our drain shed, or our sewage shed, and it takes it down to our wastewater plant. And to be able to do all of this, and to connect this, rebuild this 1.2 miles, we'd have to build a bridge to allow people to go, to allow the water to go down to where, down to Mason Rec, and allow trains to, allow that connection from the scenic railroad to CSX's track. You can get the next slide, please. So, the benefits to all of this. 78-inch pipelines. We'll reduce CSO events, make progress towards filling consent order. It's a project we have to do. We don't have a choice. And we have a cleaner Potomac. The C&O Canal, we're replacing a 48-inch sewer that was probably constructed in the 1950s. And then a lot of what actually talked about. These projects all work together. So I was talking earlier about them being the same project. The 78-inch pipeline is going to be, you get the next slide too. 78-inch pipeline is going to be funded with state bay restoration funds and water quality financing, which is a loan. Usually it's along the orders of 87.5%, 12.5%. So for 87.5% grant, we got to match it with 12.5% local funds. Usually that comes in a loan. With the canal rewatering, in theory, will be funded with federal dollars. So I can't necessarily go take MDE dollars from flood and then play nice with our MDE sewer funds. They're state funds, they don't match well. But I can match state and federal dollars together. So with the canal rewatering being federally funded, and their split is usually about 66 to a 34% match. Throwing some lot of numbers out here. But by us building our $75 million 78-inch pipe, we will have our local match for the canal rewatering, which would mean, in essence, a free project that builds tourism while we're cleaning up an environmental issue. Why would we not do this? Now, a lot of things have to happen. These aren't fully formed ideas. A lot of discussions have happened. We have tons of partners. 78-inch pipeline, I was hoping to be under construction 2 years ago. But I can't put the pipeline in the levee because the Corps won't allow me to do it in that configuration. So I mentioned earlier about us no longer needing that levee. Right now I'm in the process of trying to deregulate the levee as a levee. If I deregulate it, they can't say no, I can't put a pipe there. If it stays as a levee, I can't necessarily put a pipe longitudinally in the levee. These projects all have to work together to achieve that final goal. So now we're working with the regulators on 78-inch. Canal rewatering, we're working with the Corps of Engineers on an engineering documentation report. I call it a feasibility study. Well, whatever. To determine what those costs are. This project was already designed. It was designed in the late 2000s, John? Yeah. John Fonzo is a former city engineer. I assumed everybody knew who he was. He's fantastic. And he did all this stuff. But, so it's been designed, but it wasn't completely designed. And all the environmental work that went into it is no longer applicable. Everything's changed. So we got to redo it all. And then we got to get the money allocated through Congress, because they're federal, to make this project happen. We expect that number for Canal Rewatering to exceed $30 million. And there's an elaborate equation to make all these numbers work together. What we build on 78-inch has got to be within the Canal Rewatering project. So that full $75 million doesn't go towards our match. But there's a ton of work that happens in that 1.25 miles. And then we have to figure out how does it get operated? And we work with our federal partners to figure out how do we turn the Canal Rewatering into a tourism destination that suits their needs as much as our needs, I mean the National Park Service, and how does the Corps of Engineers needs met, how are we protecting the city from floods, and how are we deal with the environmental impacts. So both of these projects are worth constructing. It's just going to take some more time. If it was easy, it would have already been done. We're talking major dollars. 8 years ago when I started, the 78-inch pipeline was expected to cost $45 million. 2020 came, and that changed everything for everybody. Construction dollars have gone through the roof, and we are working to deal with that. And we'll continue to work with our MDE partners and federal partners to make both these projects happen. And I think that might be all I have. So, anybody else?
Colleen.
Colleen's next.
My apologies up front. I am on crutches. I don't think I can get to the podium and stand for any length of time, and my comments are going to be brief. My name is Colleen Peterson. I am the chair of the Canal Place Preservation and Development Authority Board, and my role tonight is really to precede the most important part of this evening, which is comments and questions from you. So I'll make my comments brief. First of all, these are ways to stay connected with us, to learn about the project as we progress, so I hope to take advantage of those. I think Dee Dee may have mentioned the online store, which we have. There's some very nice items on there, t-shirts, bumper stickers. We'll add more to the list, but it's a great way to advertise the River Park project if you're so inclined. With the holidays coming, might be a nice little gift. Andy and Bobby in particular are the technical guys. I'm definitely not. What I want to impart is really what can you do to help us advance this River Park project. It is, to quote Bobby, a no-brainer. It is a huge piece of our outdoor recreation economy puzzle. I want to thank and recognize someone in the audience, Bob Kaufman, who is a former professor emeritus, I think now, recreation at Frostburg State University. I've known Bob for decades, and he thought about this idea a long time ago. So thank you, Bob. It's still alive, and we're moving forward with So what can you do? First, you can be an advocate of the project. An advocate to your friends, to colleagues, to our elected officials. I'm so grateful to have both folks from West Virginia, Delegate Howell, and our own Delegate Jim Heimbach here. We have representation from our federal partners. We have representation from the county and representation from the city. These are the folks that make decisions on how money is spent. And this is a project that needs to remain a high priority for all of them. You can, stay curious about the project. Request updates on it. Read our posts. We're on all the social media. Keep informed. Ask us to do more of these updates. We'd love to do them. This is a multi-phase project. We're in phase 1. We have other phases ahead of us. So, we hope to bring more information to you as we have it to share. Most of all, be optimistic. There's a lot of hurdles. This is an onion project. You roll back a layer and there's 2 more beneath that. But we have all been in these projects before. It takes determination, it takes optimism, and it takes all of us to be advocates. And this is above and beyond a community-driven project and a project that is for the community. So I hope that we can answer whatever questions you have tonight. If we can't, we'll find an answer. We'd love your comments. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie, who's going to roll through the audience. If you have a question or comment, please raise your hand.
Thank you, Colleen. And if there was any doubt, this woman contributed to building a highway that people said never would be built, so. Questions? Raise your hand and I'll come to you. Comments?
Sure. My name is Pete Brush. I am not a local to your community here. I'm actually an outsider. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We have the Oakwood Play Park on the Susquehanna River, and I'm also a local to Preston County, West Virginia. So I travel through your town here twice a week. Love the area, beautiful area. I just want to first say that. So I don't really have any questions for you guys, but I just want to say how very impressed I am with you guys that you guys are cleaning up the river at the same time as doing this project, because as a whitewater kayaker myself, that is always a big concern. I'm president of a club back in York, Pennsylvania, and all the time we hear about, oh, there's so much pollution being from sewage plants itself. Every time there's a flood getting dumped into the river, and the fact that you guys are addressing that on the Potomac at the same time as making this park, I think it's a great thing. And I will tell you from some of the other parks I've been at, it will actually very, very, very highly help your community. You will draw a lot of tourism in here off of that. So, and I think it's going to be a good thing for you guys. So, bravo to you guys for doing this. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Simcoe. I'm a Garrett County resident, an outdoor recreation enthusiast, and I also serve as the executive director of the Outdoor Recreation Economy Institute at Frostburg State University. I prepared some comments this evening, so I wouldn't ramble on, but I want to express my strong support for the Canal Place River Park. This project represents a rare opportunity to reshape how Cumberland community interacts with the North Branch of the Potomac River, an opportunity that benefits residents as much as it attracts visitors. What excites me most is not simply the economic projections, though they are impressive. It's the fact that the project improves Cumberland's quality of place. It creates a healthier river, walkable public spaces, ADA, accessible fishing and water access, and a riverfront that local families can enjoy every single day. These are the kinds of investments that help people feel proud to live here and that encourage them to spend their time and their earnings locally, strengthening existing small businesses and opportunities for striving entrepreneurs to build from the ground up. The River Park will knit together so many of the assets that Cumberland has worked hard to build and promote. Assets like the C&O Canal towpath, the Great Allegany Passage, the new skate park, the trails at Constitution Park, and the redesigned Baltimore Street. With easy access off I-68, the River Park becomes the front door for people discovering everything Cumberland has to offer. But more importantly, it becomes a daily, affordable, close-to-home resource for people who already live here. The environmental benefits are equally important. Removing the aging industrial dam is a necessary step towards a healthier and more resilient river system. It restores fish passage, improves habitat, and clears the way for science, education, and outdoor learning opportunities that schools and youth desperately need. This is part of redefining what water-based industry means today, an industry rooted in ecology, recreation, and community well-being. Of course, a project of this scale doesn't happen overnight. The funding secured so far is a very strong start, but there's still a long road ahead. There are decisions to make, questions to answer, and partnerships to strengthen. This is why broad community support matters now more than ever. The River Park is multi-jurisdictional by design, and its success depends on all of us, residents, businesses, local governments, and regional partners working together with a shared vision. This is a chance to build something that will serve the region for generations, a chance to create jobs, support local businesses, restore the river, and make Cumberland a place where people want to live, work, and stay. Let's keep moving forward together. Thank you.
Hi, so my name is Mandela, owner of Wheels of Ventures. Thank you guys so much for the presentation. I think I've heard parts of this presentation in the past. And so my question is, for like government officials, we know people who are here use rules, locals, and enthusiasts. We love the idea. I might be a little biased. I really like the idea. I wonder why. But I'm curious as to local government, our senators, our city, and states in general. What kind of support do we really have? Do we know of people who can actually tell us how much support we have? That's number one. And number two, since we're so close to West Virginia and they obviously benefit from this, is there any conversation with people from that side, as to how they can participate or help things facilitate out? But thank you guys for doing this. Appreciate it.
Had to do it, didn't you? Just had to do it, didn't you? Thanks, Mr. Delman. Bill Atkins, an Allegany County Commissioner. In response to you, this is the #1 priority of the county. It is also of the city. And we are supportive of this. We have worked very closely with Canal Place Authority and others in moving this forward. We have worked with our cohorts in West Virginia to make sure that everybody is on the page and on line with this. I just would like to say that this is not just a tourist attraction. This is an amenity for us to use, first and foremost. This helps with the quality of life for everybody here. Yes, it will bring in tourists, but the other side of this that people miss is the economic development that this creates. This doesn't only bring in Mandela and other folks who will do canoe and kayak rentals and all that. It brings in business and industry. When you have an outdoor recreation area, business and industry look at you a whole lot different than when you don't. And we're seeing that already. We have companies calling us now because of what we have created And I give all the kudos to our tourism director, who has done this a long time, and who said a long time ago, just be who you are. And we are an outdoor recreational mecca. And we are building on that from the county down to the city and everywhere in between. Because we want to see this happen, because this is what drives economic development, not just tours, but industry and business coming to our area. So we do support this, and we are working as hard as we can on every front to make this project move forward and get it done.
Just like Bill, thanks, Mandel. I was going to try to avoid this, and actually I enjoyed it. But first, I want to thank everybody for coming. Because I think what this shows is a true interest within our community for the riverfront. Because I do believe, as you were making comments, the vast majority of the comments will be positive. So thank you for coming. Because as Bill said, this is for you. From my perspective, this river park is for you. Yeah, it's for the tourists, but it's really for us. And I want to really, he talked about his rock star, Ashley Workman. And this is probably the first time I've ever been just a little bit jealous of a county elected official in the 7 years I've been mayor. I got my rock star up there too. I got Bobby Smith, who was one of but I'm a little jealous because Ashley gets up there and talks about, she shows you what it's going to look like, how you're going to be able to kayak on it. And she talks about economic development and all of that good stuff that comes along with it. And Bobby gets up and talks about sewage. God bless you, Bobby.
Someone's got to do it.
But in this particular case, it is critically important, as Bobby was explaining, a lot of the funding that will come, we'll be able to do our match with what comes from the 78-inch pipeline. So even though that might be a little technical, and let's be honest, above my pay grade, when Bobby talks and John Fonzo who's helping out, when they talk about this, they're engineers, I'm a locomotive engineer, it's a big, big difference. But seriously, this has the support of the city without question. Because when we're putting out Bobby Smith and we're getting John Fonzo involved with it, I want you all to understand that this has the support of the city going forward. It's something we see as a true game changer for our community. So that being said, we're done.
Oh, thank you. My name's Ed Blizzard. I was born and raised here in Cumberland during the economic decline many years ago, just as I got out of high school. I left the area, and I haven't moved back to the area since, but I've moved around the Baltimore area for about 40 years now. I recently just retired and moved back to the mountains. I'm in Pennsylvania, though. But for many years, I was associated, I am a whitewater kayaker. For many years, I was associated with the Baltimore Canoe and Kayak Club, which has a membership of about 200 to 300 people total. I've now moved my membership up to Ben's Creek Canoe Club, which is up around the Johnstown area. I'm not on the board there, and I'm not looking for it. Pete, I want to get together with you before we leave, because you and I have crossed paths before, but I didn't expect to see you tonight. The thing I wanted to mention to people who may not be aware of it, because you wouldn't be aware of it unless you spend time in one of these crazy, stupid boats. One of the things that this water park has going for it is that there are a few in the region around regionally. There is a very small water park in Johnstown, Pennsylvania that has 2 water features. Each one of those rapids, that's called a feature. And this, if this is accurate, it looks to me like we've got 5 or 6 features. So 7? Okay, 7 features on this water park. This would be an exceptional water park for this regional area. And most of you are not aware of it here, because I wasn't aware of it when I was growing up here, when I lived in Cumberland. We are in the middle of a white water area that is just overwhelming. Within a reasonable drive of here, You have the Cheat watershed, the Cheat River watershed, along with the Big Sandy Creek that's out part of the Cheat River watershed. The Youghiogheny River, which is the upper Youghiogheny, the lower Youghiogheny, which is in Pennsylvania. The Castleman River. You have just a few miles upstream, and I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but a few miles upstream, just above Bloomington, Maryland, there's the Jennings-Randolph Dam. If you take the other river, which is the Savage River, that meets right at Bloomington with the North Branch of the Potomac, you have the Savage River Dam. This water park would have something exceptional in that it could be coordinated to have water releases from those dams that would feed this, and you could plan events from that. You could bring in tourism, you could bring in dollars, you could bring in events. It was only a few years back, well, it's only a few years to me, 1989, when the Savage River had the Olympic tryouts for whitewater slalom events on the Savage River. I don't know that this park particularly would ever have those types of features on it, but it could bring a great interest in whitewater back to this area. By the way, all of the rivers that I mentioned, the mass of people from the Baltimore and Washington and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area who come up to all these rivers, the Cheat, the Yough, the Castleman, the Stony, they all drive right down 68. And from the bridge, they would see this feature, and they would be drawn to it. So I just wanted to mention that. I think this is a great idea. I would really look forward to it. I'm 70 years old now. I hope it can get built before I have to retire from whitewater kayaking.
And let them know just how often those releases happen. Like Yacht, the upper Yacht, that's like every week. So you have people driving through here who would stop every week. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not guessing, but I know that.
You all have probably seen a lot of cars coming through town with a lot of weird little plastic boats on top. They are all headed to the mountain west of here, and they are all driving right past where this would be.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Timmy Adra, and I am the executive for IBM here in the local region. We employ about 400 employees. Just hired around 100 people this year and want to continue to grow. Amenities like the River Park are really important for us to be able to continue to attract new employees and retain those employees. We don't really have trouble attracting employees to the area. Our biggest challenge is retaining them if we're bringing people in from outside of the area. The 100 that we just hired this year are mostly all locals, so we're proud of that. We want to make sure that they continue to have amenities in the area. I'm also the vice chair of the Frostburg State University Foundation, and we have a big focus on attracting local students to want to stay at Frostburg. And then for us as employers, we want to make sure that they want to stay here and build their lifelong career here. And amenities like the River Park will make that more possible. So I just want to put my support behind the project and just encourage everybody. These projects take a long time. We've got to be in it for the long haul and stay supportive of it for the long haul. But I really appreciate the presentation today. I learned a lot about it, and just really want to share my support for the project.
I'm Mark Kaufman. Glad everybody is here. Want to thank Dee Dee for her yeoman's work on this. She used to live across the street from me. She had to listen to me all the time. But she has made it her own and done a fantastic job. But I'd like to take a little different track than, it's really just building what Bill was saying. What Amy did with all the statistics and what people have said about people coming in from outside is all really well and good, and it's what I call is the icing on the cake. Right now, I do a lot of riding on the Gap Trail, and I enjoy stopping at the Continental Divide because that seems to be a stopping place. And so I'm always meeting somebody there. And it's amazing how many people from outside of the, from Seattle or Chicago or New Zealand come and visit us. But it's also amazing, what is amazing, is how many local people are using that trail. And I talk with them, and it always surprised how many of them are local people. And so when you look at what this can do, look at the schools, the clubs. I was looking at all of the pictures, the nice pictures they have up here. A lot of them are from Salina, Colorado, which I'm familiar with. And those are young kids that are using that facility. That is, you look at how many of our children, they grow up, and what do? They leave. Because there isn't much here. And I look at those pictures, and what I see are kids from our high schools, from college, using this facility and using the other facilities that we have in the outdoor recreation as something to keep us, or keep them here in this community and as part of that community. And it is easy to overlook that component. Bill touched on it, I think, very well. But it is so easy to overlook that, what it is going to do for our community. And so I just want to re-emphasize that, because the icing on the cake is really great. I love it. You know, everybody loves the icing. All of the tourism, what it's going to bring into the community in that sense. But it will also serve the local population. And the way, and just one other thing, it is the river park. The park is an important ingredient in this, because the park is a place where people go. The attraction is the water. So the kids come, they're having a fun time, but it's everyone else then comes and watches the kids and the people that play, and so it becomes a place for everyone. And that's how you build the Whitewater Park, or the River Park at Canal Place. And that's what makes it a total community project. So, more power to you guys. That's it.
I just have a couple of comments I'd like to make. My name is Carla Huddleton, and I'm just a citizen, resident of Cumberland. I recently read about a community, and my facts may be a little bit fuzzy, but I believe it was in Oregon, who had built themselves a nice river park. And not too long after it opened, they found themselves having to spend over $400,000 to deal with the resident geese. I think you probably all know we have a resident geese population here. You can see them anytime you walk down below the Blue Bridge, and they fly over my house every evening in the summer on their way to Wells Creek. So I do hope that that is something that your organization has taken into consideration as far as, you know, what's going to need to be done to keep the goose population under control and deal with any sanitation issues or aggressive animals that might happen. The other thing I wanted to say is I am a transplant to the area. I've been here 20 years now. And when I was living downstate, I did pretty regularly go kayaking. I still have a sea kayak stashed in my garage, and I haven't used it in a really long time. I was fortunate near the beginning of my kayaking career to be able to take advantage of safety courses that were offered by one of the local kayaking organizations and was taught by a certified instructor to teach people proper safety and family techniques, and especially how to do things like an Eskimo roll. And I do hope that people in the community and also your organization will try to partner with any local facilities, perhaps such as Allegany Community College, that have a pool that they might be willing in the late winter and early spring months to, host classes there, because I do believe that it's important for especially younger paddlers to get some sense of how rough water can be and what they can do to keep themselves out of harm's way when they're out paddling. And other than that, I just want to say I'm really enthused about this whole thing. One of the first things I thought when I moved here is, why don't they have a water park? I can't believe they don't have a water park. Thank you again for all of your efforts.
I'll be quick. My name is Ruth Davis Rogers. I'm the Historic Preservation Planners in the City of Cumberland. I'm a supporter of the water park, and almost a year ago to this day, we were going to Thanksgiving to visit some relatives in the Midwest. And so I said, hey, let's stop by Dayton and take a look at their river park. And we did, and it's eerily similar to the way our river is. And if you have 5 hours, I highly recommend that you go down there or go for a weekend and take a look at it. It was absolutely amazing. It wasn't overcrowded. I've heard people be concerned possibly about parking or something like that. You could see how they had that all distributed. But you could see the redevelopment. They mixed the new and the old. Here's a city that's similar to ours. It was a manufacturing city. But what they did with the factories and everything along the rivers, they had found new uses. They mixed new townhomes and condos, along there. There was hotels. It was a cold day, and there were people out there in wetsuits, kayaking. And there were some people out walking, and this was not a day that I would feel necessarily like walking unless, I was there for a purpose. But it was absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend people to go there so you can actually see it, not just see pictures. And it is truly like a step forward in time because of the similarities. Thank you. Dayton, Ohio.
We want to just affirm our commitment to this project. This is outstanding at every level. It's incredible to look across the room and hear the enthusiasm. We migrated here, we're not from here. We showed up during COVID just to get away. And about a year in, we met so many of you, we fell in love. We just literally fell in love with the culture, with the people, with the views like this, the mountains. And so we planted ourselves, left crazy Montgomery County, and wondered why we didn't move here 20 years ago, raise our children here. Turns out our children love it too. My son lives in Arizona. And he says, Dad, I can't wait to get out there. I just love it out there. So we started our business here. I thought I was going to retire and just play around, and one thing led to another, I put an art gallery. And lo and behold, we have now 5 local employees, and no, 10 local employees, and we're actually hiring, opening a restaurant as well, and we'll probably have about 15 more employees. So I say that as an affirmation of what projects like this, projects like the downtown, to do to draw people like us from out of town to create their businesses here. So much so that we were just up in New York City visiting our friends Doug and Betsy Schwab, which you probably know, you see it too. I know that. And we're out of a couple of those fancy New York City art galleries. We're talking to one of the owners there, and we're chit-chatting about what it's like to own an art gallery. And I described you, all of you folks, and I showed them a picture. took out my phone and showed pictures of things like this. We talked about projects like this. And this New York fancy art gallery owner wondered why he was in New York City and not Cumberland, Maryland, right? So think about that for a minute. Somebody said that their children leave, you know, how many children have left and maybe they come back. Here's people, I suspect, from New York City and Montgomery County and other towns are going to now say, I need to go move to Cumberland. And that's going to be happening real soon. So well done, elected officials, well done. Great leadership team making this happen. Enormous vision, Dee Dee, you guys are absolutely amazing. As soon as I can hire all of you, I will. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions that you'd like to have answered by the panelists? A timeline?
Is the question a timeline for the whole project? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. The phase that Andy spoke about, what we call the land-based amenities phase, that has the ADA, accessibility, parking, expanded trails. We are very hopeful to get through the very challenging permitting processes with a number of agencies. And our hope is that we can literally put a shovel in the ground in 2026 or early 2027. That's our hope. And remember, I said, let's all be optimistic, and let's be optimistic with enthusiasm and some pressure to make sure those permits are achieved. The second phase of the project, and I think it was referenced, Dee Dee certainly referenced, is the sediment testing and the dam removal. I think we really need to see how the first phase goes, the lead in second. And to some degree, they're going to cross over. You know, we can do the sediment testing once we get that extra money that we're waiting on. And then the third phase, even though it all flows together, is the river features. At this table, we're talking, I'd really like to see this all done and get in the water with my grandkids by 2030. That would be my hope. I'm going to get in the water anyway, but it's really hard to put a date on it because of, quite frankly, the permitting of so many agencies. The funding has got to be there to support it, but as Bill Atkinson said, we've got 9 million plus. That's a big chunk, and that's a lot of this project that we're going to be getting started on in the initial phase. So I know that doesn't give you a definite timeline, but it gives you, we know the challenges, and we're going to stay on task to try to get those permits done. We've got a great engineering firm. Andy's firm's doing a great job. We have, regular contacts with those permitting agencies. Dee Dee and her staff are, staying on task with that. So, not a definitive year, but this is going to be done. I mean, we are going to build this project. There's no two ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's going to be done.
Is there anything else we can do to help? Do we need to write more letters? Do we need to, is there anything besides buying some emergency
Yeah, what a great question. I know you kind of asked that before, Mandela, so apologies for not answering that. We need to keep this project in the media, all the social media, the newspapers, the radio. We definitely need to do that because we need to keep you informed of the challenges that we're facing. Our elected officials, they're in a difficult position. There's a lot of worthy projects, there are a lot of necessary things that need to be done that they need to make decisions on. That's at the local, state, and federal levels. But for us to keep this as a priority means that it has to be a priority for you. And when we're doling out resources to support projects that will bring extra income, extra businesses, is a wonderful amenity for all of us. I truly can't imagine a project that could compete with that. So to answer your question directly, it's letters of support. It's do an editorial in the paper. If you are, elbow to elbow with any elected official in city, state, federal, any local, talk about the project, your enthusiasm about the project, what this project will do for you as a business owner, as a resident, long-term, all that will help. But it is our desire, our intention to keep this a priority project for every level of government until it's built. We're not going to take our foot off.
Just to keep this rah-rah going here a little bit and getting more support for this project, I think that we need to remember some backdrop to this in terms of Jay Lindell's vision, Cass Taylor, who actually came up with the Canal Authority and rewatering of the canal. But also the fact that we have Colleen Peterson as the chair now for this Canal Place speaks volumes, because for those of you who don't know her, and let me tell you, I've been around for a long time, and she's probably the one who has taught me the most in my life. She has brought together so much to fruition in so many projects, and Julie can speak to that too, because she was right there with her in terms of the highway, working with the Greater Cumberland Committee, but all that she did at Frostburg State. So the fact that we have a team that we have here, and all of you rallying behind it, speaks volume for this project. And I can't encourage you enough to do everything that you can to support this.
Anyone have any more comments up here? Any questions? I don't see any more hands. Any closing remarks up here?
Bum foot and no glasses. I just want to take an opportunity to thank the Chamber of Commerce and Julie McCoy for hosting this meeting. It is an important economic project, but having the Chamber's support is, extremely encouraging. Thank all the speakers, Andy, Bobby, Dee Dee, Ashley. Thank you all. Most of all, thank you for attending. Keep us honest, ask questions, check our social media, talk to your elected officials. Most importantly, have a great Thanksgiving and drive safe.